Hey everyone, welcome back to Pencils and Prairies. My name is Bethany and I am a wife and mother of 3, and I'm a homeschool convert. So on this channel, we talk about all things faith, family, and homeschool related. So welcome. Okay, so today I have been emailing a lot of friends and talking a lot about getting started homeschooling. If you're watching this, it is 2020 and we are in the middle of COVID, okay? So it is crazy. Schools have shut down and now they're gonna reopen and they're gonna do full days or part-time or, every other day. It's super confusing. I feel so badly for not only the parents, but the teachers who are having to work through all of this chaos. And so if you're one of those people who either you've been thinking of homeschooling and this has kind of pushed you to be like, okay, let's do it, or you're someone who's like, you know what? I don't want to go back into a public school or even, the private schools, just be out with other people until this kind of blows over or wears down or goes away, whatever. This video is going to help you hopefully figure out how to jump into homeschooling. So let's get started. I've got my notes right here. So if I keep looking down, I'm trying to make this video kind of quick because I don't want to wear you down with things. I want to encourage you because this is an awesome journey, but it's a little crazy. So I'm gonna be looking down to my notes so I can stay on track. So the first thing that I say is to pray. Pray, 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 pray. And then pray some more. One thing about homeschooling is people don't do it because it's easy, because it's not. And there are differing styles, which we'll get to in a little bit. There are differing styles on how you homeschool and what that looks like in your house. But at the end of the day, you are choosing to take the responsibility of your child's education. And that is a big deal. And that may seem super overwhelming. It was definitely way overwhelming to me when the Lord placed it on my heart to finally, I don't want to say give into the idea of homeschooling, but give into the idea of homeschooling. It was very scary because not only am I dealing with them in their everyday life, but now I'm also taking their education under my wing. And so one thing I want to point you to is Deuteronomy chapter 6. And you may hear this in the homeschooling circles. It's a very popular part of scripture that parents refer to. But in Deuteronomy 5, it's the story of Moses giving the Israelites the 10 Commandments. And so in Deuteronomy chapter 6, the Lord goes on to say, these things that I have commanded you, write them on your hearts. Teach them to your children. Teach them diligently is how scripture places it. And when you rise and when you wake up, when you go to sleep, when you eat together, when you do all these things together, teach them to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. It's the first and greatest commandment. That is what Deuteronomy 6 is all about. And so when you decide to homeschool, you have to ask yourself, what does education mean to me? And if you're a believer, and if you're a new believer, this may feel like I'm stepping on your toes, but I'm just speaking truth to you. All truth is God's truth. We live in a time when truth is relative and it can change from person to person, but all truth is God's truth. And when you are educating your children as a believer, you understand that all the subjects you are teaching them need to point back to God. And that's hard. But if you think about it, math is logic, okay? God is a logical God. Art, look at creation. God made all of these things in different types, and just the human body itself is just fascinating. When you think of literature, language, and how you speak and how you communicate and how you are understood, all of these things are ways that we learn about God because He created all of these things. So the first thing I would do is pray, ask God for the guidance and the wisdom, and ask yourself in that prayer, and when you're speaking to God, say, God, show me what education really means. Because it's easy to say that we want our children to love and obey God, but what does that really look like when we're educating them? And if that is your driving force, it's going to be blessed and God is going to be glorified. And that doesn't mean you're not going to have some bumps in the road. But when we are pointing our children to the Lord, whether or not they are eventually called unto Him, He is glorified and we are ministering to them. And so, number one, pray and ask yourself, ask God to show you what true education means. Okay, number two, and this is number one when it comes to this side of heaven, check your local regulations and requirements, because this is something that a lot of people forget. And I've talked to a lot of parents right now. I've got a lot of friends who are interested in homeschooling. They don't realize that there is also a legal part to this, okay? Now, with COVID, there are a lot of families who want to homeschool, and that's really cool, because not only is it cool to take on ourselves the responsibility of fully raising our children, the other thing is that we're spending time with them. And that's so great. That's so great. I love all these pictures of these kids hanging out with their dads who are usually, you know, gone all the time, and they're putting up the swing sets or building clubhouses, whatever. That's so awesome. But we need to make it legal, because even though culturally homeschooling is becoming more and more acceptable, as one, we have COVID, and two, as we're realizing that our American education system is failing our children in so many ways, it's causing a wave of pulling children out of the school system, and specifically the public school system. So culturally, homeschooling is becoming more accepted, but I don't know how to say this, in terms of government or those who regulate our school systems, homeschooling is becoming a target. There are a lot of people right now who are seeing this wave of homeschooling, and they are afraid of, for lack of better words, they're afraid of the inability to brainwash people's kids. And I'm not saying every public school teacher is out there to get your kids. That's not true. But the overall arching persona of public education is ultimately anti-God. Because if we're not learning about God in education, what are we learning about? We're learning about man. And that may seem really dramatic to some people, and that's fine. But that is my belief, is that if we are not teaching our children about God in education, we ultimately are failing them, okay? And so as we see more and more homeschoolers, there are more and more people who are trying to regulate our rights. New York, that is a really difficult state to homeschool in. And so, you know, we see more and more leaders in our communities try to kind of get their hands in that, and they try to take away a parent's right to educate and raise their child. However, there are lots of states where it is very simple. I live in South Dakota. It's very easy here. But going to the HSLDA.org website, the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, they will show you, go to the website, pick your state, and they'll show you everything that you need to do to legally homeschool. For example, in my state, I have to turn in an exemption form. It's just a pretty simple piece of paper that needs to be notarized or signed by witnesses and whatnot that gives them information about each of my children, and I have to turn it into the school district of where we live. And on top of that, every 4th, 8th, and 12th grade, my children have to be tested to show that they are learning. Now, in some states, for example, in New York, which is the opposite end of the spectrum, they have to a parent has to show the state, okay, this is the curriculum that we're going to be using. These are the books we're going to be using. These are our plans, and so on. And so in the off chance that somebody in the legal realm questions your ability to teach, how well you're teaching, the health and welfare of your children, you want to make sure all your I's are dotted, all your T's are crossed, that you are doing everything so that there is nowhere that they can attack you. And I don't say that to scare you, okay? Generally speaking, you're going to be fine. But every once in a while, there is a case where a homeschool family can be criticized or critiqued. And so it's really good just to make sure that we are free to homeschool in the United States of America, which is wonderful, but we need to do it the right way so that we can keep our families safe and that people know we really are just educating our kids. That is the heart of what we're doing. So we want to do it right. Also, some things that your state may require is that you have what's called a portfolio. And so that will be a binder basically of all of your work. Just like you may have a photography portfolio, or you may have a portfolio for your job where you show people your work. It's the same thing. And usually that is just a matter of keeping any tests or worksheets or art projects and just showing them so they can have a tangible resource for the work that you've done. And I have been recommended, I was advised, and I advise everyone else, whether or not that's required for your state, I would do it because it's good for the parent to be able to look back and see what the child has done. It's good for the child to look back and see what they've done. And some ways that you can do this would be like notebooking, where you can either take one giant binder for the year and place samples of your work through the year in that binder, or you can do smaller binders and break them up by subjects. So have a math binder, have a geography binder, and so on. Number 3 is to know your method and your children's learning style. This is really important because this will help you not only understand what your environment is going to look like at home and your expectations, what reasonable expectations will be, but this will also really help you in picking your curriculum. So let me explain this. Sonia Schaefer, who is from the Simply Charlotte Mason company, she has a YouTube channel and she has a great video, and I'll try to link it below, and it is on, I believe it's the 5 different styles of teaching. And so when you start floating around the homeschool community, you may hear words like eclectic, which means lots of different things. You may hear Charlotte Mason, you may hear classical. These are all different ways to teach. Now you may be thinking, I just want to teach my kids, why do I need to learn a style? Because there are so many different styles of how to present information. You may be someone who just wants to do open and go, read the textbook, do the work, and that's fine. But if you can learn how to articulate what your style is and how that can complement how your children learn. For example, are they kinesthetic learners? Do they learn better with their hands? Are they auditory learners? Do they learn better by listening? So maybe audiobooks might be a better option than just having them read all the time. You know, there are lots of different ways to make your homeschool, your home education journey better for you. And 2 of the best ways to do that is to figure out, and it may take some time. I learned that I am a classically eclectic homeschool mom. I tried the Charlotte Mason method and it didn't work for me. I am a classically, like I said, classical in the sense that we do rote memorization. We study the trivium. These are all things that you're not going to need to worry about unless you're getting into the classical realm. And eclectic, meaning I like to pull from different pieces of material to get our studies done. So I do not purchase one curriculum and use everything that company has for math, language, and so on. I pick and choose the books that will work to supplement those types of subjects. Okay, if I haven't overwhelmed you, let's keep moving. Number 4, find your resources, people, books, and a co-op. So before we get into anything about co-ops, I just want to say you don't have to have one, but I definitely highly recommend a co-op or a community where you can come together once a week or what have you and work on certain subjects with other families. That will definitely help you, especially in your first year, kind of understand what's going on. I value mine so much. It has helped me so much. It's helped me learn how to teach, what to teach, when to teach it, why to teach it, and to know that I can do this. I really can do this. And you can too. You can do it too. As far as your resources go, otherwise, people and books. So this YouTube channel, Pencils and Prairies, I hope is going to be a great resource in your journey to homeschool. There are so many others. One that I really recommend would be JDA. She is I don't know if you would classify her as retired, but she used to be a public school teacher and she is now homeschooling her 4 kids, and she puts out a lot of resources for free, or you can purchase them on teacherspayteachers.com. But she is a great kind of no frills teacher. She just gets in there and tells you how to do it without getting sidetracked with all these beautiful and playful books that can sometimes as a homeschool mom, it's easy to look for the shiny instead of really understanding just what needs to be taught. So she is one, and if I think of any others, I will put them down in the comments. Okay, number 5 is to learn. And this is going to be paramount to your success as a homeschool parent. Go to conferences. There is the Christian homeschool, I can't remember some of these names. Teach Them Diligently is another conference. Look online, see what is local to you, what you can go to. Wild and Free, that's a great resource for homeschooling. Look for a homeschool conference where there will be tons of people that you can go and meet, look at curriculum, listen to speakers, this is a journey where you may feel like you're all alone, but you're not. If you just take the initiative to go and search, you will find your answers, you will find your support. Homeschooling is not like it was in the 80s or before when it was illegal, okay? We have the internet, we have our churches. It is so easy, and I say easy as far as availability for resources and support to homeschool than it was compared to the pioneers of 80s and earlier. So rest assured, there is help out there. And number 7, I'm going over this video right now and I'm editing, and I just realized I forgot number 6, which was to look at curriculum. But we're just gonna forget that I even forgot that part because I'll do another video on it later. Okay, now back to the video. Get support from real life people like friends or, like I said, social following. You could do Facebook groups, but it is really important to find support to go on this journey. I love if you reach out to me and send me a message. I will respond to you as soon as I can. And I'm one of those people who's on Facebook groups and I'm just trying to help people navigate. And like I said, I'm still in the beginning of my journey. I'm on year 3. But let me tell you what, I have learned more about the Lord and his greatness, his grace, his love for his people through homeschooling my kids than I would have otherwise. I have learned more about how my children think and how they are, as Charlotte Mason said, born persons. Sometimes we look at children and we think of them as, we treat them as if they're not people, in the sense of they think differently, they act differently, and it's kind of like, it can be frustrating, right? But we tend to forget until we start educating them that they are born the way they are. They are people. They don't grow into being a person. This little person right here is a little person, and she or he has his own interests, own desires, own likes, dislikes. And when you can understand that, I'm looking at my imaginary person right here. When you can understand that, it makes a world of a difference in how you can love and relate to your child. And that is, I think, the biggest thing, second to the ability to teach my children the gospel and direct all of our subjects back to God. The thing that I love most second to that is that I have been able to, it's really changed how I look at my children and how I view them as people who are valued by the Lord, who are made by God, who are unique, and just incredible. Children are just incredible. So that is all I have for now. I'm sorry if this felt rushed. I have so many videos and so much content that I am organizing and trying to put out in the midst of raising and homeschooling 3 children. So if you liked this, please, like they say, give it a like. Put down in the comments any questions you may have or any comments. Subscribe if you feel like this video was helpful for you and you'd like to see more. I'm still getting used to these YouTube videos, so I hope you enjoy them. And until next time, bye.